King Global Ventures is focused on its Black Canyon project in Yavapai County, Arizona. The project spans almost 3,800 acres and includes 213 contiguous concessions and 15 former mines targeting copper, gold, silver, zinc, VMS, including the past producing Howard copper mine. We've got Robert Dzisiak and Head of Exploration, Andrew Lee Smith, here to tell us about the Black Canyon Project and King's comprehensive exploration plans for this historic mining area. I'm Martin Gagel with Market Radius Research. Please remember, this is neither recommendation nor investment advice. We're here to learn about the company. Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us today. And why don't you take it away? Thank you.
Great, Martin. Thank you very much for having us. So I'm Rob Dzisiak, CEO of King Global Ventures. King trades on the Canadian Stock Exchange under the symbol KING and on the OTCQB board under the symbol KGLDF. Our main property is in Yavapai County, Arizona. Yeah, forward-looking statement. So you see that our main property is just an hour north of Phoenix in the Bradshaw Mountains, which is one of the most mineralized mountain ranges in the world. These are Precambrian rocks. 1.2 billion years ago, we had these black smokers that, as the ash precipitated out into these lenses, it hurts. We had these VMS deposits. So they go from the K mine south of us, which just put out their maiden resource of 10 million tons just a few weeks ago. And then we've got King, the former Bluebell mine, the Shylock mine, Bingham mine, United Verde, and this trend goes all the way up to the Bingham Canyon mine in Nevada, which is the biggest hole in the world. So this is VMS country. Arizona, as a whole, produces 2/3 of the copper produced in the U.S., and there are a lot of copper exploration going on there. So a tier 1 jurisdiction and great infrastructure. Our property is just 20 minutes off of the major highway, the I-17. So as Martin said before, we've got 212 contiguous claims covering 3,800 acres in Yavapai County, easily accessible, 15 former mines. And so what happened here is that after the California gold rush, the last train was at Yuma, Arizona. The prospectors got off, looked for the placer gold in the river valleys, then went up into the mountains, and they mined the high-grade gold, silver, copper, horizontal veins. And then this area became a national forest in 1905. And for the most part, unless it was an existing mine, most explorations shut down. And so this area really has had no modern geological exploration techniques on it, which that's what makes it so interesting, and especially given the Black Canyon District and how many former mines are on there. So, back in the day, it was just high graded. And so we're very fortunate to be able to have this land package. And we've spent about $4 million US to date on it. And within 150 kilometers, there's 60 vein hosted base minerals on the property. And so here you see our property. So 3,800 acres. And we see on the north, in the yellow, that's gold, silver occurrences. And then the red ones are copper. And so very prolific. And so at the bottom, the Howard copper mine, that was in production in the 1920s and 40s, very high grade, took out about 100,000 tons between 3 to 5% copper. We just finished our maiden mining program on that. We drilled about 12,000 feet, finished that in May. And now we're on to the Silver Cord project. You see that towards the north there. Situated amongst a lot of former producing gold, silver mines, more of an intrusive. Andy will talk about that later. But there was production there in the late 1800s. And we've just started our maiden drill program there. So we're drilling 12,000 feet, and we just finished our first hole. And then on the red, you'll see a major fault there, the Eyre, Roosevelt, Thunderbolt going down, some very high copper showings. And we did an IP survey there in 2024, which showed us a big event under the Silver Cord. And then we did a VTEM survey in November of 2023. And because of that, we staked another 1,200 acres. So these are the results of the VTEM anomaly. And so we see, a pretty big anomaly there, called the Iron Horse. And then on the red, we had ALS, A-less gold spot, do the analysis on it, and it lit up a lot of high priority targets on there. And we actually just did a gravity survey on the Iron Horse and on the Howard as well. And Andy will talk about that later, but 25 meter showings and some very interesting results. So this is the Silver Cord. So we see some very large anomalies there. We're drilling right now. So we had a 3D IP survey done, the VTEM survey, and we're now drilling on that property. So here we are on the Howard. Howard is pretty interesting because it's on patented land. So patented land is land that was granted before Arizona was a state. So it's got a federal charter. So we've been able to get 99 drill holes. It just took us 30 minutes to apply to the water department, just saying that we're going to be drilling. And next to the Howard, there's an aquifer there. So we have lots of water. So we finished a maiden program there. And in October, we're going to go back and do a second phase based on the results of the drilling and also on the gravity survey that was just completed. Just some more on what we see there at the Howard. So there's an analogy to the United Verde mine, very oxidized cap, high grade, 3 to 5%. So that's quite interesting. We hope that we may be able to do electrowinning and take that high grade cap off and mine it. So the main shaft went down 900 feet. There's no information regarding any workings below 500 feet. And they took out a lot of high grade gore. So we did the initial drilling under the former workings, and then we drilled the oxidized cap. And so it's very analogous to what we see there at United Verde, where they had an oxidized cap, sort of lost the mineralization, then it showed up at depth as a VMS deposit. So our board of directors, so my background, I'm a former commodity broker. I've run 3 different IROC member firms. My last firm, Geophysical Canada, out of Toronto, I had 120 brokers. Ben Hootie, our chairman, was a large client of mine. Ben's quite a successful businessman. He had, the family had 18,000 acres in Saskatchewan, 20,000 acres in Colorado. They sold it all and rolled it into Phoenix real estate, sold that off for $175 million. He's also the former founder of Zenith Bank. And the initial property, the Silver Cord, is one that Ben found. He hired an old geologist to find him a property. After a couple of years, he came back and he found the Silver Cord. So Ben started working on that with the range front. And then we worked together a little bit. And then about a year and a half ago, I guess, we decided to put it into King. The director, George Mendez, a lawyer out of San Cabo, Lucas in Mexico. Jason Campbell, he's the most prolific producer of music on YouTube. Joe Polish, again, from the Phoenix area, the Genius Network. And so the founders of the company, Ben, Jason, and Joe, own 35% outside of what King can earn in. And of the $11 million we've raised to date, they've also put in $4 million. So it's pretty rare that you have the insiders raising most of the money. And so out of the $11 million that we've raised to date, $8 million of that have come from the insiders. So the control group has about 70% of the stock. So the joint venture terms, if we spend $4 million on the property over 30 months, we earn in 65%. We've basically spent that money already. The Hootie family will retain a 2% NSR, and then the other 35% can be vended at any time. Great access. This is a tier 1 jurisdiction. Again, just an hour north of Phoenix off the I-17 freeway. We have power there, electricity, water. There's a private town called Cleator, which is on patented land, a former ghost town. King has bought 10% of that. The other directors own the rest, and that's where we have our base camp. So we've got water there, power, and several good sheds. We're using that as our base. There's also an operating bar there, and also there's a yacht club if anybody wants to join. So King, very tight share structure. We went public a year ago on the CSE. As of May 1st, we had 6.3 million in the bank, 41 million shares outstanding, 32 million warrants, options, and RSUs. The share price should be updated. We've traded up to 96 cents just last week, and our market cap is about 38 million. So very tight structure, cash in the bank, finished our maiden resource, or I'm sorry, our maiden drill program, and now we're on our second program, and we have plans for our third into October as well. So with that, I'll pass it on to Andy.
All right, thanks a lot, Rob.
Thanks, Martin and Rob. I'll dive into some technical information here. What I'd like to do is just run you through this process that I went through in realizing, I think, what's a very special opportunity in the mining sector. I've been in the business for almost 40 years now. Worked around the world, including Canada, other places in North America, Mexico, Greenland, and spent a fair bit of time in the last decade or so in Africa. So I've had the pleasure of working with Rob in the past, and we're winding up our exploration efforts in Africa. And he suggested that I should come down and have a look at this project that he and Ben had put together. And so I did, but I have to admit that I was fairly skeptical on my way down here. Arizona and the Southwest United States has always sort of been plagued by a regulatory environment that was not particularly favorable to mining operations and exploration. And I was well aware that this part of the United States really hadn't seen any exploration in over 100 years, really. So none of the innovation, none of the advanced techniques, none of the technology that has been developed over that period has been applied here. And that absence of exploration was really my first reaction before I got a chance to have a look at it. After the Civil War, after the Mexican-American War, and before there was any rail into this region, the California gold rush began in 1848. And as Rob mentioned, towards the 1860s, when the discoveries in this region were happening, the California gold rush had waned. There was a rail link between California and Arizona to Yuma out of Sacramento. And that was the main viaduct where prospectors started infiltrating this region, looking to either build on their success in California or find something new for those who had not been capable. But you had a very experienced, seasoned group of army, really, of prospectors come into this region in the 1860s, and the discoveries followed. This is just a view of the area of interest. The Bradshaw Mountains that have been mentioned already, Prescott and Phoenix, very close by, network of highways, accesses is not an issue. And I'll draw your attention to the Precambrian belt that we see here that runs north-south and actually is sort of a V-shaped body. This is the geology, 1.7 billion years old. When the Earth's crust was just forming, there's a lot of activities that are still ongoing today. The formation of volcanogenic massive sulphide deposits, or VMSs as they're called, copper, gold, silver, zinc ore bodies that are being mined today all over the world and being formed today all over the world in places like the Red Sea, in the Juan de Fuca Strait off Vancouver. And they're processes that were active then are active today, and the deposits essentially haven't changed. So these belts are recognized around the world as being very prolific for these kind of deposits. And we see that not only is the geology here favorable, but there are here in red several VMS deposits along this belt. Rob mentioned the Bluebell and the DeSoto mines here, the emerging K mine down here, which is a VMS. King Global's Howard Copper was a former producer of VMS. And of course, the big one, United Verity up here, was a mine that was the first documented evidence of interest in this mine was in the mid-1500s when Spanish explorers were looking it over in a quest for gold. The first contact resulted in the Native Americans taking them to this place where they had used the copper oxide as a resource for decorating and So at that early stage, it wasn't particularly recognized by the Spaniards and really sat fallow until that onslaught of prospectors in the 1860s came into this area. So looking at this is a very interesting belt, a VMS style deposit. Is obviously a prospective region for that. But really struck me when I started to look at it is this slide. This yellow and red dots indicate former producing mines. Red is copper, yellow is gold. And it was really, well, there are other mines that I haven't shown here along this belt. This is a dramatic cluster of historic producers when you consider the fact that none of this work has been followed up since the early 1900s. And that's where I started to become aware and feel that there really was quite an opportunity sitting here on the geological side for not only VMS deposits, but also precious metal deposits. And the Silver Cord was really just the start for me. So we zoom in now, we can see the area. You can see quite clearly now this Precambrian belt here and the scattering of mines that are around the town of Cleator, which Rob also mentioned, and close to another notable location in the region, a little crossroads called Bumblebee. This configuration of deposits, former producers, is quite remarkable. And if you look at the King, the outline of the Black Canyon project, for me, the exploration potential and the opportunity here can be summed up really in one sentence. 3,600 acre property, 15 former producing mines, and not one drill hole. So again, the business plan for King and what we developed and what I believe is the appropriate approach is to apply all of these advanced technologies, all of this knowledge that's been developed in geological, in geoscience, to this untouched yet obviously mineralized part of the world. So that's what we set out to do. And of course, the first step that we took was to fly a VTEM survey. VTEM is a helicopter-borne geophysical survey that looks at both magnetics and electric conductivity in the rocks. This is a picture of the magnetic response that we see. Once again, some very, very strong magnetic responses from what are iron formations. Iron formations are the rocks that host the VMS deposits, the 1.6 billion year old rocks. So are obviously evident here. But magnetic tells you that there's a lot of iron in the ground. It doesn't necessarily indicate the presence of mineralization, but iron is a very good start. You'll note, and we'll talk a little bit about Iron Horse, the exploration, the project area that we've outlined here over this significant magnetic anomaly. The old prospector saying is that gold rides an iron horse. And that just talked about the affinity that gold has for iron. They're traveling companions in the geological sense, and you usually don't find one without the other. Conductivity is another aspect that's really important because it reacts to elements that conduct electricity in the ground. Iron is not necessarily a fantastic conductor of electricity, but copper is. And we saw when we look at the electromagnetic signatures here, we see a significant response over the magnetic response in the area of Iron Horse. So, but there's a lot of other responses here, and if we look at the full story, these are the areas that have been designated by the VTEM survey as having high priority. The highest priority is here on the project we call Iron Horse, but there are a number of second priority anomalies which are very, very strong and also line up along these iron formations. And on top of that, you have the third priority anomalies, which complete the suite and present us with a bit of a cornucopia of geological responses that require follow-up. So we're moving forward. This is fresh information, relatively speaking. We completed the VTEM survey It was flown late last year. So we're in the midst of consolidating the geological information and collecting it at the same time. Not a lot of these geology in this region, as you can imagine, has been documented. The fact that there's been no exploration over the last 100 years, the only records that exist really are the anecdotal records and some minor documentation from the historic activities that were taking place in the region. So we're faced with not only a tremendous opportunity, but a tremendous challenge as well to wrap our arms simultaneously around these obvious prospects, but also backfill in a lot of the geological and mining information that is really going to be important to help us move forward in a way that establish a foundation from which to move forward on. So as we're approaching this, we've got really 5 areas that we're really looking at. Of course, the Black Canyon project, the larger property in blue here that you see, is an area that will be a focus for part of grassroots exploration. The other 4 areas that you see here, Golden Turkey, Silver Cord, Iron Horse, and Howard Copper, are already at the advanced stage. And that's an important fact because we've moved very quickly from grassroots exploration through exploration to advanced exploration to diamond drilling now on Howard and Silver Cord. Typically, that represents a significant risk. It represents a geological risk that's already been overcome. And not only does it place the company at a point where we can begin to consider creating value, it also moves the project dramatically forward. To get to this stage on a project this size in a well-known mineral belt would probably take 5 years. It's taken us less than a year to arrive at this phase. So by doing that, we've eliminated a lot of the geological risk out of the equation, and that's one of the important facts that I think that really creates a unique opportunity here, is that we're going to be able to move this project forward very quickly. So if we focus in on the Iron Horse and the Howard, these are the 2 properties here. The Howard property is the former producer. The Iron Horse we've been talking about has that big magnetic anomaly, that corresponding EM anomaly. And you can see quite clearly the iron formation here and the belt of rocks, these Precambrian rocks, which are known to host the kind of deposits. And actually, you have a former producer down here, not an insignificant producer in the Howard patented claims. But once again, we went back into our bag of tricks in an opportunity to see if we could establish a trifecta, a rare combination of not only coincidental mag and EM, but also coincidental gravity, which again is a 3rd element that would reinforce the prospectivity of the area. So we brought in gravity teams to survey these 2 projects, and under the magnetic anomaly, we've got gravity anomalies, 2 significant gravity anomalies on Iron Horse, and 3 significant gravity anomalies on Howard. So that information is probably a month old, 6 weeks old, but again, is a giant leap forward for both of these projects, in that we're now looking at a stronger understanding of the potential and a higher resolution focus on where to go next. This is a cross-section of the 4 gravity anomalies that have been picked up at the Howard Copper project. This is to the south, going to the north. This is the former mine, and a place that we've been doing some drilling and collecting some information, and we are expecting to be able to announce some results of that shortly. But this was the prominent former producer. Yet you can see all 3 of these dwarf this gravity anomaly in terms of size. And again, none of these have been drilled yet. They all fall along a stratigraphic line, a horizon that we've identified through our drilling that's prospective for the development of VMS deposits. But once again, if you look at the performance of these projects, when you apply techniques, when you apply investment, What results are you seeing? This is really quite a dramatic positive response from the application of new technology. And this slightly confusing diagram here shows the same thing at Iron Horse. And you would have to realize that this anomaly is bigger than all four of the anomalies at Howard. Here it is looking down in plan view. It sits along a fault, which is what you would expect from a geological model of a VMS target. It is beneath surface, about 100 meters down. It's about 350 meters deep and almost 400 meters across. So a very significant gravity anomaly sitting on top of a conductive anomaly, sitting on top of a magnetic anomaly. So there's not much else we can do with geophysics. And it's time to start drilling these gravity anomalies in the near future. Howard drilling can start very fast because it is patent property and doesn't require much in the way of permitting. Not the same story with Iron Horse. It sits within the forest area, which is can present a permitting challenge, but one that we've overcome to begin the drilling at Silver Cord. This is a picture from yesterday at Silver Cord, the drill road and the drill hole. While it's hole number 3, it's really our first complete hole to test the IP anomaly that sits underneath the Silver Cord high-grade vein. And it's my belief, based on the information that we've seen, is that if we go back up to all of these mines that we saw here, these are mostly all surface discoveries, mostly high-grade narrow veins, but they're indicative. These are symptoms, not the deposits themselves. I believe that this mineralization and this configuration of both gold and in red, the VMS projects represent two mineral systems that are temporally different. One that was 1.6 billion years old that created the copper base metal deposits, and a second event that occurred sometime later, perhaps 30 billion years ago, associated with the development of a lot of the larger base metal mines and gold mines in Arizona, perhaps still in the Precambrian, maybe a million years, but two separate events, two separate forms of mineralization. One that fits the geological model of seafloor iron formations, but this one that creates these gold veins, I believe, is related to something at depth. And that's one of the issues that we're developing, one of the ideas that we're developing, and the Silver Cord drilling is very important on that, in that we are testing a deep geophysical anomaly at depth below this cluster of narrow veins, high-grade silver, gold, lead, copper veins that were exploited by hand back in the 1860s. So that's where I think we sit right now, and that's the end of the slides, Martin. I'm happy to throw it back to you.
Andrew, thank you very much. That was really good. So, Andrew, some of your land is on forestry land. What does that mean for you and the permitting process? Because you said initially you were skeptical of these types of lands and challenges, but you seem to have overcome that. Is there a clear path for exploration on these lands now?
Well, for us there is, and I think more importantly, there's a precedent now. We've been through the process once, and we've moved through it successfully. We've developed a working relationship with the United Forest Service, who governs the activities that take place within the park, as opposed to the BLM, who are also involved, but are there's some overlap in those agencies, but predominantly the U.S. Forest Service is chief regulator in the forest, and we found it a challenge at first, but have to admit we've developed a very good working relationship with the Forest Service, and more importantly, are aware and have succeeded in following a pathway to permitting that we can use as a precedent and a template to move forward. So I think, given that the mandate, and if you look at the mandate of the formation of the park, this was a mining area when it was done. And the mandate of the park is to find a balance between sustainable mineral exploration and mine development and preserving the environmental and cultural aspects of the forest. So it has been mandated to do both. And ultimately, in this, as it goes for the Prescott National Forest, that is really a dual mandate under the Forest Service. But what we've seen recently, and I have to applaud the foresight of Ben and Rob, is that the regulations seem to be changing. And the Forest Service has even communicated this to us, is that there seems to be significant change in regulations on the horizon. Some of them are being enacted already, and they are becoming more and more favorable for exploration and mining. The development of a critical minerals and supply chain strategy by the new administration is sort of the foundation for that. The Interior Department is already making changes and proposing significant changes to title and ownership of mining claims, and the time frame that it takes to permit exploration activity, all on the basis of what I believe is now law, this critical minerals and supply chain approach. And what that means, gold is not yet on the critical minerals list, but copper is. All rare earths are. There's a number of minerals that will allow you to move these projects forward in a substantial way. And I think Rob mentioned the Bradshaw Mountain area is known geologically for being a highly mineralized belt. Bagdad mine is still in production. I think it's been in production for almost 50 years and looks like it has another 50 years. But there are a number of projects surrounding it that, like the Silver Cord, are also in a situation where you could see this region start to grow substantially, not only in terms of activity, but also in terms of funding and also in terms of success. And I think that that'll lift all boats in the region, including Silver Cord. And right now, I believe that Silver Cord's probably, due to the early adoption of exploration opportunity and the now changing regulatory environment, Rob and Ben have put together an opportunity that's going to lead here.
Martin, if I may add something, we've also hired Trinity Westland, a well-known consulting company in Arizona, to do a global economic or environmental economic impact assessment on the entire property. And once that's complete, that will allow us to drill all of the land that's all national forest once it's okayed by the National Forest. So that's underway right now.
Okay, so that would be more of a blanket permit for the whole area as opposed to making individual applications for different sections of it?
Yes, correct.
On your current drilling, can you just review what's in the near term, what kind of results and information shareholders should be expecting to get in the near term?
Well, the Howard program is complete. We're waiting assays that we're expecting shortly. It was an 8,000-foot drill program that tested the areas underneath the old mine, but more importantly, tested the stratigraphy, the productive stratigraphy of the Howard copper to the south. That program preceded the gravity survey, which have now indicated substantial geophysical response from dense bodies, 3 large dense bodies that sit to the south of the Howard mine. So we're expecting to have more detailed information about the plans moving forward and the results from the initial phase of drilling there very shortly. At Silver Cord, it's a 10,000-foot drill program. We're on our we're on our third drill hole right now. The first two encountered challenges due to faulting and had to be abandoned at very shallow depths. So we've just completed our first drill hole. We have a ways to go, probably another 6 weeks of drilling. And then I would expect probably 3 weeks after that, we'd be receiving results that we'd be able to furnish to the investment community.
On the Howard and the 8,000 feet that you've completed, what was the average depth of each of your drill holes? And so how many drill holes did you do in total?
We drilled 20.
20,
So,
okay.
And we tested it underneath deep with a few holes. And then we moved south away from the known mine workings to test the southern extension of not only the sulfide mineralization was mined in the past, but also in particular, if you look at this image, this is an image of an adit that was driven into a cliff face on surface, and the blue color you see is a mineral called azurite. It is very high grade copper oxide, and has drawn our attention to the potential for developing something called an electrowinning operation. Very cost-effective, low capex way to produce copper metal from ores like this. So that was part of the objective of the Howard drill program, was to test this region where we suspect there'd be a resource of copper oxide that would be amenable to this form of mineral processing. Again, because Howard is a patented project, there wouldn't be any permitting requirements, and it would be an opportunity potentially for King to establish itself as a producer. It's not a large scale operation, but the operating margins are very high and the low capex is really low. And as a producer of copper, would, I think, align the interests of King Global Ventures with the federal government's plan on critical minerals, including copper. So I think it's an important aspect of the project that's maybe not as prominent, but I think certainly important part of the program that we're monitoring and advancing, and the drilling program was part of that.
And I believe it was with the Howard, there are four, like there's the Howard and then 3 additional gravity anomalies there.
Yes.
And your drilling to date has only been on the initial known Howard one. You haven't even stepped out to those 3 other bodies, have you?
That's correct. We came down underneath this anomaly, and then we moved out to the south to about here, strangely enough.
Okay.
One ironic piece of information is we set up our drills right here and drilled to the east. This gravity anomaly sits right underneath where we set up our drill. But of course, we didn't drill it because we were drilling in a different direction. But ironically, yes, we set up our drill right on the top of that anomaly.
Gotcha.
So we have access to it. We have all existing roads in place, so it's all on patented ground. So this is low-hanging fruit, for lack of a better word.
And I guess before you do any more drilling around Howard, you're waiting to get the drill results back so you expand your knowledge of the area and then plan out the next steps.
Correct.
Would the next steps would it be a combination of both let's say the historic Howard mine as well as some new holes potentially into these other anomalies?
I think you can see by the size there that the opportunity exists with aside from the Howard itself. Yeah. And so we expect to probably move these 3 significant anomalies up the depth chart as the top 3 priorities of Howard.
And in terms of scale on this map, I don't see one. What is the rough distance between the blocks?
These hash marks at the bottom are 500 feet apart.
Okay. So it gives us some scale.
This one is actually very close to surface.
Yeah.
They're all pretty close to the surface. This one also looks almost like an outcrop. So that's it won't be a deep drill program, and it should be um, not an operational challenge to establish a drill program that'll test these targets. We usually lay out a matrix of intercepts that we use as targets, and we usually drill the first pass at 120 feet. And then if we're encountering mineralization, we'll close into 60 feet spacing. So if these are VMS targets, so there'll be a substantial drilling program in order to get that kind of drill hole density that we need in order to start establishing value.
And on the Silver Cord, when does that drilling start?
That drilling started about a month ago, and
okay, so
we're ongoing right now. We just completed our first hole. We drilled about 2,000 feet, and it's a 10,000 foot program. So we're about a fifth of the way through.
And that'll still take another 60 days, I believe did you say that?
Yeah,
or
roughly, yeah.
Okay. And are you going to wait for the whole batch of those to be done before you assay them and release them, or are we going to get multiple news releases off
the holes
that?
will be assayed as they're finished. So when we finish one hole, everything from that hole will go to the assay lab.
Gotcha. And then you'll
we're preparing to send the first batch of assays from the first hole to the assay lab this week.
So I would guess in August, we could get some results out of that drill hole published.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of drill results here expected over the coming weeks and months from those two projects. And then on the more sort of longer term strategic is the permitting on the other areas of the property. Is that fair to say? And then you open the doors for that?
That's true, but we're working on a 36-month timeline here. And what we're trying to do is engage the permitting process so that we basically have a consistent program of drilling on various targets over the next 36 months. We think that's how long it's going to take to really identify. There's several phases that you go through in developing these things. There's exploration, prospecting, of course, exploration, advanced exploration, exploration targeting, and then drilling. And so I would say a lot of those VTEM targets that we saw there are going to require exploration first, and then some advanced exploration on you. With each step, you cull the herd and you reestablish priorities. So we're moving all of those anomalies through that process over the next 36 months. In addition, of course, we're at the drilling stage at Silver Cord. We will be at the drilling stage. Our second phase of drilling at Howard will probably be this fall. Again, there's no permitting required, and we've already established access. I'd like to get the Iron Horse permit in as quickly as we can, with the hope that we'll be able to start drilling at Iron Horse once we finish with Howard. I think we're probably going to have a second phase of drilling at Silver Cord after that, which will be easy to permit because we've already got the first phase permit. Then Golden Turkey is another prospect that's ready for drilling that needs to be permitted. So what we're trying to do is engage a process that will see us pushing everything along and have basically a fairly constant flow of drilling operations.
Yeah, because you've got the short-term work you can do now until the permitting comes in, and then it'll give you a whole new portfolio of new targets to drill, and then you can titrate from there and figure out where to put your ongoing focus.
It's important to be able to keep the project. All projects need momentum.
Yeah,
and big gaps of silence are really make it difficult to maintain an operational footing that's well financed and develop a team around it, a collective group that has a continuous input of information that will carry the project forward. So that's what we're designing right now. We'll probably have that plan laid out both in terms of costs and timing and phases, and what we'll be targeting there is news. Those will be important milestones in the process that we'll be considering is how will we be able to engage our investors and engage the market in a continuous way, or a way that shows progress and shows value creation. So that's an important aspect too. But we're analyzing risk, we're analyzing timing. We're trying to develop something that will allow us to gain a stride and to keep that stride going through the next 36 months and delivering results.
I think we've covered a lot of territory. Thank you very much. Rob or Andrew, any final comments to leave investors with before we wrap it up?
Sure, I would say this. The value proposition on King, extremely tight share structure. As Andy has said, we've been able to move forward from a geological standpoint, light years in a short period of time. We've raised $11 million in the last year at constantly higher prices. We still have $6.5 million in the bank. We're working on our second drill program, and we have enough funds to go into our third drill program in October on the Howard, which is extremely enticing. And so we've got the cash, a very good list of shareholders, 70% owned by the insiders. There are no broker groups involved, which is pretty rare. So a lot of very well-heeled individuals have been financing this. So tight share structure, tier 1 jurisdiction, a great geologist, as Andy tells a phenomenal story, lots of experience, and we've got 4 major targets. So it's quite a story.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate your time walking us through this. And I look forward to talking with you again as we get some drill results out and we can start clarifying the picture of what you've got here. It looks like it's got huge potential. Thank you very much.
Thanks for your time, Martin.
Cheers.